Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the Start Here link in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 17 years to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships and turn any negative emotional experience into part of the infallible guidance system that each one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. If you keep reading on that page and scroll down, there are a whole host of other tools available in this work to support you in discovering what you might have in your mind and your body's energy system that's less than love, that can be seen and dismantled effectively and efficiently with the use of these tools, and give you the option to have a better, happier, more productive, creative, loving life. We hope people do that soon and often because it frequently leads to comments and questions or testimonials. And if you have any of those to share with us, please give us a call at 563-999-3581. Call that number and press 1. It'll put a little icon of a hand by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. We're also doing the Course in Miracles workbook lessons this year. We are on day 341. Today, the message preceding today's lesson is the question, what is a miracle? And the answer that's offered in 5 paragraphs of commentary begins with and is simply this: a miracle is a correction. A miracle does not create nor really change anything at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. A miracle undoes error, right? And it paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening. So, everything we see that's less than love is a mistake, is an error in perception. And the miracle is simply a turning away from fear towards love, a shift in perception from fear towards love. Lesson 341 for today says, I can attack but my own sinlessness, and it is only that which keeps me safe. Now, that is one of the phrases in A Course in Miracles that has people scratching their heads and saying, what does that really mean? And another way to make that statement is, the only thing that I can attack is with my thoughts. I can choose to believe that I have sin. And I can't have sin. There is no such thing as original sin in the ancient Aramaic. It's something more like original blessing. It's a gift of life that you've been given. It's the awareness of life that you have that allows you to be aware of anything whatsoever. And there is nothing in you that is bad or damaged or wrong or needs repair in any way. And the essence of that truth contains your perfect safety. The commentary here reads, Creator, your offspring is holy. We are the ones upon whom you smile, in love and tenderness, so dear and so deep and so still that the universe itself smiles back on you. And the universe itself shares your holiness. So let us not then attack our sinlessness. Let us not create beliefs that we have imperfections and sin and we need correction, etc. For our sinlessness is contained in the word of the Creator, in the creation itself. And in its kind reflection, we are saved. In the reflection of the truth of life, we see there's nothing to be undone except our errors in thought. It's the core of the Course in Miracles teaching. And lesson 341 from Pam Grout's Course in Miracles experiment is titled, Anything You Can Do, ... She quotes William James, who said, To change your life, start immediately. Do it flamboyantly and make no exceptions. Pam writes, The soundtrack of my childhood, thanks to my mom, who was a pianist and a church organist, the soundtrack was hymns and Broadway tunes. I was particularly fond of Annie Get Your Gun, where Annie Oakley and Frank Butler, playing one-upmanship, sang to each other, Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. And I think of that song whenever I think about J.C. or Yeshua or Jesus Christ or whatever you want to call him. You know, the cute guy with the beard and the sandals that, according to the Bible, told us point blank, quote, any miracle he can do, we can do better. We can do any miracle better than him, closing quotes. Pam writes, So far, I have yet to walk on the Sea of Galilee or turn water into my favorite glass of Cabernet, but neither activity resides on the top 10 of my bucket list. I'm more motivated by miracles of love, where people who used to hate each other realize they don't, or where some limiting belief that kept me stuck in an old pattern gets turned into a whole new possibility. Lesson 341 says it's time to start performing miracles, to start one-upping J.C. because he would have it no other way. So there we have lesson 341. I am sinless, and it is that which keeps me completely safe. And any attack I create is a falsehood of thought, and it's correctable. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581. Call that number, press 1, and we can have a conversation. How can we support you today? We've got about 50 minutes left for conversation, testimonial, worksheet process. Today is a Tuesday, which means we will have a support group tonight that will be available through Zoom from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Central Time. It is available, all the information about how to join us is available at mindshiftersacademy.org website. And please remember there is a separate login page for Tuesday and Thursday because the access numbers are different. And we fairly routinely now have somebody try to join us using the wrong day's access numbers. So, how can we support you today? What's on your mind? What words would you like to speak or hear spoken that might help point you in the direction of an experience that is life-altering? Because, again, that is basically our intention, our whole purpose for being here is not the words we're speaking, It's the possibility that each of us can engage in to have a different experience of our life. We can use these tools. We can access the power behind the principles, and we can have a better experience of life moment to moment when we step into the use of these tools. So if you're not familiar with the tools, as I was saying in the intro, please go to whyagain.org, whyagain.org, and click on the red and white bullseye. It's farther down the page these days, so I don't usually talk about that on the new website, but it's still there, or the Start Here link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages. And then have at it. There is, I forget how many thousands of pages of information there. This work has been going for a lot of years. Sometimes I hear Michael say almost 50, sometimes 40 some. And the core of the work is wrapped around the Course in Miracles and around the Khabouris manuscript, which is the oldest known copy of the New Testament, which for a while was being translated directly from the ancient Aramaic into English, and some of the, we call it wisdom, we call it insights that were gained from that work, have been made available in what Michael calls the Enlightenment book that he will offer for sale on that website. It's also woven into the tools that are made available for free. And the point is, how can we remove everything that's false, less than love, from our mind-body energy system? What does it take for us to step into, Michael would call it our birthright, the direct awareness of our true nature as love, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round. And I frequently discuss with people a two-prong approach, which is, number one, remind yourself or get the reminders or learn about how you are a miracle of life. You are a miracle of the creative energy expressing in form. And that's the first prong. Find ways to remind yourself of your true loving nature. Because it's the same as the true loving nature of everyone you see, even those who may not be acting lovingly. And then the next thing is, the second prong of the approach is to make the commitment to own, to step into the realization that every time you're not able to actively access awareness of that first truth, there's an error in your thought process. And if you own that, if you step into the use of tools to remove the errors in thought and or tap into the guidance that's available to each and every one of us through this energy system we call a mind-body, and ask to be shown the errors of your thought, and if you have tools to use like the ones that are made available absolutely free on whyagain.org, then you apply the tools, and then you restore your awareness to your true nature as love, and life keeps getting better, day after day, moment after moment. And that's a two-prong approach we're recommending, and we're here to support you in doing. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning who's struggling, trying to get other people that he knows to learn the same things he's learning in this work. And one of the pitfalls is that people have different language, or they use language to carry the meaning of words that are very different from what the meaning is for the people they're communicating with. And then, time to time, people will decide to have an argument over what the real meaning of this word is. And when that happens, I just encourage people to recognize what Krishnamurti would say so often. The word is not the thing. Your thoughts about yourself are not the same as yourself. Your words describing yourself are not who you are. Your ego is not who you are. And the ego is not some evil thing. It is not something to be beaten. It is not something to be mastered. It is not something to be fought against. Because it's simply a collection of thoughts. And as most of us have had the direct experience, our thoughts change moment to moment. Our thoughts are as fluid as the wind. And so it doesn't make sense to fight against the wind. It doesn't make sense to fight against your thoughts, because that's all your ego is your thoughts about yourself. So when somebody wants to argue with you about the nature of truth or the nature of God or who's right or who's wrong about any given issue, I would call your attention to the process they use in the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And they say in that book, and I'll remind you that in that book what they're doing is they're counseling, they're coaching corporate leaders and executives, presidents, CEOs, etc., owners of businesses. And what they say in that book when they're trying to introduce this topic to people is, think about something that you absolutely know is true. And most often, people in their groups will pick something like 2 + 2 is 4, some simple math theorem that they've got proof for. It's worked well in their life, and they just don't have any doubt about the actuality of that statement. And then they ask the person, now, if someone came up to you and wanted to argue with you that 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, how much energy would you spend trying to convince them that you're right and they're wrong? And all these executives, say, well, basically none. I mean, I don't have to prove anything. I know it's right, and I don't feel any need to argue with somebody who won't accept the basic truth of that statement. And they say, okay, so now the next question is, what is something in your life right now today for which you think you know the truth and somebody else disagrees with you? And of course, most of the time, that fairly readily comes to people's minds. And then they ask the people in their seminar to think, how much energy have you spent or are you willing to spend to try to convince other people that you're right and they're wrong about this other issue? Whether it's, how much money the sales department needs to spend in order to keep up with, the corporate goals, or whether or not the HR has a bad policy that needs to be corrected, or whether or not an employee down in the warehouse needs to be fired for whatever misdeeds. And they talk about it, and they've got a lot of energy for trying to convince other people that they're right about one of those personal issues or individual issues. And so then the corporate leaders ask, or the trainers ask the corporate leaders to think, what's the difference between these two things? One of which you won't spend much of any energy on trying to convince the other person, and the other which you're willing to fight tooth and nail to convince the person. And as they discuss it and work through it, what they find time and time again is the simple math theorem is something that they absolutely know is true. There's no doubt in their mind whatsoever. And the other issues about which they're willing to fight tooth and nail to try and convince someone that they are right and the other person is wrong, these things have some question. The individual who wants to fight to prove them right can't absolutely know that it's true. So the invitation here is to wake up and understand that whenever I argue with anybody about anything, I'm in error. Because, in my words, the argument means that I've got an emotional intensity for this, and that emotional intensity is an indication that I'm not seeing things clearly, because when I see it clearly and what I want to argue for is absolutely true and I know it to be true, I don't argue over it. I don't put any emotional intensity into trying to prove it to one person or another. So, we have a lot of people these days who are listening to opposing news feeds, and they'll want to argue. You know, there is a conspiracy in the United States. There is a conspiracy in the government. There's a conspiracy with the drug companies. There's, you know, people are being forced to take medical treatments that they don't want to take, and that's bad and wrong, and people should be able to have the right to have an abortion, and people should not be able to kill an unborn child, and back and forth and up and down. And so the invitation with this work is to recognize that how the relative or absolute truth of an issue may or may not exist out in actuality. None of that is related to the negative emotional states that I generate or the positive emotional states that I generate when my mind is focused on one or more of those issues. And so the invitation in this work is to monitor much more closely, much more carefully what I'm doing with my thought process, because that's the only thing that's ever created an emotional state within me. And if I don't like the emotional state I'm creating, and I have awakened to the fact that I'm the one that creates that emotional state, then I can choose again. I can choose differently. And that's what the invitation is with this work. That's what Course in Miracles calls us to time and time again. That's what Way of Mastery calls us to time and time again. Whenever my emotional state is in any kind of negativity, I could choose to use that in the best possible way as a piece of information that says, hey, Tim, your thoughts are in error. Your thoughts are off the mark. And if I'm willing to do that, I get to the benefits, especially if I've been introduced to tools like the ones available on whyagain.org. So, as so many people call us to, so many great spiritual traditions call us to understand, the truth is that you're a miracle of life expressing in form. And the truth doesn't need you to get angry in order to promote it or defend it. So we have tools that can support you if you are dealing with something like the loss of a loved one or stress around the holidays, or I've had several people this week already. Here we are, only Tuesday morning. And between yesterday and this morning's sessions, I've had several people who are looking at gathering with family or friends for the holidays and anticipating drama and trauma, and saying things like, well, it's family, so I'm willing to take the hit. or I really don't want to go, but I know I should, or this is going to be brutal. I hate December. I've always hated December. It's been full of trauma and losses in my family, and on and on and on. So if you're one of those people who has a negative history with the holidays or traumas in the month of November, December, January, and you're dreading this, the tools at whyagain.org are available absolutely free, and they are powerful remedies to the processes that you're engaging in, wittingly or unwittingly, to create your own negative emotions. And we invite you to go there, download the tools, and put them to use in your life. And then call us and talk about how it works to put those tools to use, and or what you'd like to be able to learn about the tools to be more effective with them. That's why we're here. And we've got about 30 minutes left, so give us a call, 563-999-3581. Call that number and press 1, and we can have a conversation. Welcome, Susan.
So this is synchronicity again, Dr. Tim. You have got your finger on the very thing that I've been just totally fussing about lately. Like, the things that I absolutely know cause me no problem because I know them. 1 and 1 is 2, sort of thing. But what you're saying is, in the reverse, if we have a strong feeling or opinion about something and we want to argue with someone else, you're saying we aren't sure. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any upset connected with it. Right? Is that what you're saying?
That is the message in the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. That's one of the most powerful tools they have in their list of things to help people understand that when they're getting emotionally attached to one side of an issue and feeling like they're ready to fight to the death, or go to the next level, or escalate to verbal intensity or physical intensity, that's what they've learned. That only happens when there's a level of question in the mind of the person. When there's no question, okay, you don't want to believe 2 + 2 is 4? Okay. I don't think I'd want to manage your finances, but that's okay.
Yeah. So that reminds me of Byron Katie, because she says, is it true? Do you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's true?
Exactly. Same wisdom and coming right through.
Yeah. Same with what, Dr. Tim?
That's the same wisdom coming right through.
Yeah. Okay.
She says, I only suffer when I believe my thoughts.
Right. And then you're talking about the ego. Before you talked about this specifically, you were talking about the ego, and this is all the work of the ego. And my mind's going all over the place, gathering pieces of what you said yesterday and already today. The Pema Chodron thing about how the ego is afraid of death. And that was one of her, did she call it reproaches? Is that the word?
I think that one of the last strengths is reproachment.
Reproachment.
The 5 strengths.
Yeah, it isn't reproachment. I think I'm asking. There's a French word, rapprochement, which doesn't mean reproachment. It's almost like a revealing or the tying up of loose ends or something like that. And when you said reproaches, it's funny because during the season of Advent, the season of Lent, there are a series of musical chants. Maybe they're just words, but in our parish we always sing them, called the reproaches. I'm way off now. Let's go away from that. But I thought,
so
the whole
in the five strengths, and this is through Pema Chodron, and you can find it if you just search for Pema Chodron, the five strengths, Buddhist five strengths.
Okay.
Strong determination is one, familiarization is the other, seed of virtue is the third, and reproach is the fourth, and aspiration is the fifth. Right? And the fourth strength is called reproach. This one requires talking to yourself, right? Talking to this pattern of thoughts that people label the ego. But the whole point of this is to understand the ego is not a real thing. The ego is not a thing like your coffee cup that you can hold in your hand and fill with coffee or water or juice. It is not a thing. It's just a collection of thoughts, and it changes moment to moment. And the fourth strength, called reproach, requires one to talk to oneself and say, ego, you've done nothing but cause me problems for ages, which is, in other words, just to say, to see how an errant pattern of thought is always what's responsible for my negative emotions.
Good.
So I'm not going to buy into the thought pattern that psychologists or spiritual teachers might call ego. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm going to do Byron Katie's work, and I'm going to question it. And when I question my thoughts and I understand their true nature, they cease the pattern of causing suffering within me.
Oh, the ego is such a pain in the ass. I mean, I decided.
You mean your thoughts are a pain in the ass?
My ego is the whole thing.
No, but just look at what I'm trying to help you do here. Quit calling it a real thing.
Good. Okay.
If you come to see me in my office, and all of a sudden in the middle of a session, I say to you, I'd love to finish our session, but I need to deal with this pink tiger in the corner, and I don't think I can do it alone. Can you help me? And we start having a discussion about how to get rid of the pink tiger in the corner, and your whole session, the second half of your session, is used up with that. What's happening there? There's no pink tiger. But the more we talk about it, or we talk about my thoughts about it, the more we're distracted from the actuality of life. So when you say my ego, it's not yours. It isn't a real thing. It doesn't belong to you or anyone else. It's a movement of thought.
Well, okay, whatever it is called, I'm having a problem with it.
Right, so I'm trying to help you soften it, because when you use your words and label something, you give them a real palpable energy. And you're one who wants to know, and you're going to figure it out with your thoughts. And I'm trying to help you understand this thing you're doing with your mind is making it more solid and real. And you don't have to keep doing that. You can recognize that what you're doing with your thoughts is making your ego this real thing. And it's no more than the movement of thought. And it doesn't have any more validity than any other thought. And it doesn't have any more direct impact on your life than a 2-mile-an-hour breeze when you're out on a beautiful sunny day.
Okay,
unless you start to believe in it, unless you start to conceptualize it, talk about it, and relate to it as a thing. My ego this, my ego that. I don't have an ego as a thing, like I've got a left hand and a right hand, and 2 knees and 2 hips. Those are things. I can talk about those. But my ego, when I start vocalizing it that way, when I start labeling it that way, I start to think of it as a real thing. I'm trying to help you soften that and move out of treating it as anything other than a movement of thought. And when you step into, you mentioned Byron Katie, when you question your thought, you see they're all false. And they lose their power over you. And that's essentially what this fourth strength is called, reproach. It has me talking to the ego and saying, listen, I'm not going to buy it anymore. I'm not going to believe what you tell me anymore. I'm not going to beat myself up for having those thoughts. I'm simply going to see their true nature as false and let them go and move on to something that can be seen, observed, felt, that's more loving, that's more real, that's more has creative energy in it.
Tim Bingham has something on very loud. I'm going to shut a door. Okay. Well, I feel as if my life has a wide road. I'm walking down a wide road, and if I were to divide the road into my free, loving, egoless self and the ego self,
thought pattern,
there, I would have a little teeny sidewalk on one side. That's the loving self. And the whole rest of the road is more like an avenue or a boulevard. It's wide. And there's so much stuff there that it feels today as if the more worksheets I do, the more willingness I'm expressing, the more garbage is showing up. Probably just to be dealt with. But there are certain issues that remain triggers, and I haven't gotten rid of them, even with all the work I've done. Maybe I shouldn't even be talking on the radio show. Maybe this is just too negative.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine, although if you were with Pam Grout right now, and she was talking about those strengths, she would say, now right now you're getting negative, and so catch the negativity and release it. This reproach, she says, reproach can be very powerful. You teach yourself the Dharma, which means the flow of life, what actually is. You teach it to yourself in your own words, and you can teach yourself anything that has to do with the moment. And you can catch the moment when you're just about to create a pain or a suffering for yourself or some scar. And you can teach it to yourself just like any master teacher would teach it to you.
You know what, Dr. Tim, you're right.
Go ahead.
And I do that. I do that a lot. And I read a cool thing, and it may or may not be true. And the thing is, we can change neural pathways if we repeat the changed positive, if we repeat the new good wanted thought many, many times, and they gave a number like 400 or 40, I don't know. But if you reprogram yourself while you are having fun, you are playing, it takes far fewer repetitions before that new neural pathway has kicked in. I hope that made sense.
Yep. Yeah, play with it. Have fun. Don't beat yourself up over it. But understand that it's the movement of thought. Just the movement of thought.
Did you say beat myself up over it?
Yeah, don't beat yourself up over it.
Oh, I thought you said go ahead and beat yourself up over it. That's the truth. That's what...
Well, we do. We tend to beat ourselves up over this stuff, but it isn't necessary, and it isn't productive. All it does is reinforce the trauma patterns in the brain or the neural pathways that lead to the upset that we say we want to get rid of.
Okay, well, I'm hoping there's another caller so I can get off the hot seat.
Well, you're welcome to get off the hot seat even though there's not another caller right now. And I would just call you to just watch what you do with your words and the energy behind your words when you start talking about, quote, your ego, close quotes. There is no such thing as the ego. It's just a word. It's like what I said to you the other day. I think I said it to you. I can tell you what God is. It's a 3-letter word.
Right. I love the word.
That's all it is.
Yeah, a placeholder.
It's just a symbol of a symbol.
Okay, so I'm getting back on the hot seat. I have another thing to ask. I've been working with Mira Rubin, and she suggested keeping a journal. And what she suggested was to keep a journal of the ahas, the wonderful realizations. So what do? I get out a journal that I used to keep a lot. And I decide, well, maybe I need to dump the garbage first. So I write 3 paragraphs of things that I'm upset about, mad about, so forth. And I thought, well, I don't know whether I'm just fanning these flames. So I decide maybe that's not a good idea. That was a good slip, not a bad idea. I still don't know. Then I go for a walk today, and I'm picturing, okay, here I am wanting to have a conversation in my head with someone I haven't seen in a year and a half. And our friendship, you know what it is, it didn't end well. And I want to still convince her that I had my good reasons for leaving and evade her possible, imagined, or maybe true anger at me and feeling done wrong by me. So I decide I'm going to trundle along a big barrel beside me when I walk. And I'm dumping all of the negative stuff into the barrel in hopes to clear it out so that I can have a walk and notice the trees and notice the day and love it and be happy. And I'm thinking, no, that's just like keeping the journal. I'm stashing stuff into huge piles of garbage. For what purpose? I think the purpose is to prove I'm right. That's not a good purpose.
You're right about what?
Whatever I'm
right about
obsessing what? About. You name it. Whatever the issue is, my side is right.
How about it shows up, like this thought shows up about this relationship, and a person you haven't talked to in a year and a half. How about it shows up just so you can say, oh, I've got more worksheets to do on this.
Okay.
Oh, I'm still holding resentment or confusion or hurt that I'm not clear of. Oh, I'm still blaming her or blaming myself. Or just how about I just use it as awakening and awareness?
That's good. Well, then I get the feeling I'm sick and tired of this, and I don't want to do the worksheets. I know how they're going to come out. This is extreme negativity.
And then maybe I do a worksheet on how I'm sick and tired of this.
That's good. You keep going down below the junk. That's good.
Just go to whatever thought process I'm using to generate a negativity in my mind, body, spirit. It's all self-induced nonsense. The acronym for SIN that is so useful. Right? It's all self-induced nonsense. So I can choose to wallow in it, or I can choose to step through it. But it's okay. It's your life. If you want to wallow in it, it's okay. Wallow for as long as you want.
Okay. That's the cat. Sorry about that. Cat is commentary.
You can deny the use of the tools. You can deny the existence of the tools. It's okay. You can say this is all baloney. This doesn't work. That's okay too. And then, what this work would call you to do is then just observe. How does it feel? Does it feel good? Is it something you want to keep doing? If not, then this work, Course in Miracles, Way of Mastery, would call you to choose again. Diedrich Wolzak's work would say, okay, you don't like what you're getting with these results here, then choose again. Choose a different pattern of thought. Choose to use the tools or not. and then stay awake to what you're creating as your experience when you do that. That's what?
I've had a lot of moments when I've turned away a negative thought and turned my thoughts to something else without doing a worksheet, just saying, oh, there you are again. Okay, I'm not going over there. I have been doing that, and it just came to me that I have this belief, and it's probably just the thought, like the others, that the demons, and I'm saying demons even though they're not external to me, are, it's like a candle. They say a candle burns brightest before it goes out or something. I feel as if we're down, they're cornered now. They're cornered, these guys, and they're going to put up a big fight. So that's just an idea, but I like to think that maybe they're just putting up a big fight because they're really, really losing the battle.
Okay, and another way to think about it is, it's not they are fighting, it's there's some part of me, right? There aren't any external demons, there's only me and my fears, and so some part of me that's fearful has gotten resonated at a deeper level.
Okay.
So just understand that when I feel that the candle's burning brighter or the demons are fighting harder, it's just me, it's just my mind, it's my fears. And when I'm not afraid of something, I walk right into it. And if I'm resisting walking into something, that means I'm generating fear somehow. That's just how life works. So, all right, what am I afraid of? Am I willing to take a look at it? Yes. Then I use the tools and look at it. If I'm not willing to take a look at it, I say, okay. And then I will slumber in my suffering because I will continue to suffer, and all my suffering is self-induced nonsense. So here is Ellen with a hand up, and you mentioned earlier that we should turn other people on when they come in. So here's Ellen.
Hello. Hi, Susan. Hi, Dr. Tim.
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to add my 2 cents worth, because this is what, I was reminded of again this morning, and like I often forget about this, and then it's like such a nice reminder is that all these thoughts and all the stuff that, the bushels full of stuff that we think we need to get rid of and all of that, like just I get the reminder that none of it is even real. It doesn't have it has no power because of its unreality. And I can seem to lend it power by believing that, oh, this is horrible, now I need to get rid of it. Or I need to somehow resolve it. But if I just simply remember that, wow, it's nothing. It's an absolute zilch of nothing. Then I can just, it's like, I don't know, it's just gone.
Well, and as it says right in the beginning of the Course in Miracles, nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists.
Right, and that's exactly it. It's like it has no existence. We give it existence, not real existence, but we give it reality. It can never have actuality. And when I remember that, very simple truth works miracles for me. And I was reminded in reading the new section we started today in the course, What is a Miracle? It reminded me of the experience that I was given, the personal experience I was given that really taught me what is a miracle. And it had to do with an experience I had that involved fish and fishermen not finding fish. And then when I looked in the water, it was just they were stacked like sardines. And it just reminded me of that story in the Bible about, the fishermen not finding any fish, and then Jesus came along and suddenly there were fish. So I didn't remember that story, so I went home and I found the story. And when I read it, what Jesus had said specifically was, look on the right side of the boat. And I interpreted that to mean look through your right mind. In other words, the mind of abundance. They were looking through the mind that believes in lack, and so that they couldn't see the fish. And he didn't create fish where there were no fish before. He simply opened their eyes through correcting their mind to the abundance of fish that is always there. The truth is, it's always right here, but because of our mind closed off to it, we can't see it. And so all the miracle ever does is open our eyes through correcting the mind, looking through the right mind instead of the wrong mind. And that was like such a beautiful lesson for me, because I always thought of miracles as something like extraordinary. And then I realized, wow, they really do nothing but open our eyes to the truth that's always already right there.
Right. It's life that is extraordinary in each new present moment.
Yes. We just don't see it when we've got all these, errors in our thinking.
Yes.
Those errors have no power unless we decide to believe in them.
Right. And when we're looking through a glass darkly, we don't see the light.
Right. Oh.
Yep.
So I just wanted to throw that into the mix.
Comments, Susan?
I know you're right, and I'm crabby as heck about it.
How are you generating crabbiness based on that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess I'm having a day when I feel like being ornery and contrarian and fighting with everything.
Okay. Well, I hope you can find some people that want to fight back.
No problem
hate to see you out there all by yourself.
No, that's not hard to find people. It's not.
Especially for somebody as practiced at you as being contrarian, right?
Yeah.
But can you see, Susan, how it's like you are basically lending your power, your God-given power to create, to thoughts that are making you feel horrible.
Yep, I can see how I'm doing that. I just want to settle up a few scores, and then I'll be in the clear.
Yeah, I'll put my sword down after 3 more villages have been massacred. That's okay.
Right. That's it.
But if you recognize that all that's going on there is a whole bunch of nothing, because I know you value time, and it's a complete waste of time to even. It's a complete waste of time to even think about things, because you're dealing with nothing in reality, in actuality, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're trying to fix something that isn't even there. So it's a complete waste of time. That's the way I'm seeing it anyway. So if I can appeal to your
efficiency, level of efficiency.
Say, wow, why am I wasting any time on these thoughts and lending them some credence? Because they don't have any power at all. Because they don't even exist in actuality. We just imagine all this stuff into our reality that has no reality. But I understand where you're at because I'm there a lot too. And then every so often, it's like I just get this reminder, like I got this morning, like, wait a minute.
That's good. It's good if you can
you know?
stay there. Yeah. It's good if you can stay there. Yeah, well I think
sometimes it's just staying there for a few moments. Right? Sometimes the need to remind yourself is multiple times every minute. I remember a story where people were talking about a lot of this, the setting Rachman and Kuba as filters over intention and perception. And I think it was Rex who asked Dr. Rice, so how often, do you have to reset the filters? And Michael said some, astronomically high number, like, 60 times a minute or something, 30 times a minute. And so it's just a matter of being willing to do it persistently and consistently whenever the need arises, and to dismantling the shoulds as they show up, because a should is a counterproductive use of my mind energy.
Yeah, well, it's at the end of the hour, and there was a painful situation with the refugee center this morning that triggered a lot of this, but it's all the same anyway. Whatever it is, it's still error in thought. Yeah.
So what you're saying is there was an interpretation that you generated in response to a situation at the refugee center that is connected to a lot of pain for you.
Yeah.
So that would be the more accurate way to describe that.
That's true.
So I thank you both for the call. I realize we're at the end of the hour. I will mute you, and blessings to both of you. Thank you for calling. And I will remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Thank you, Dr. TM. Appreciate you. Good conversation,
Same here.
as always.
Show.
Thanks.